like, oh yeah, you're talking to me for 5 minutes, saying all these nice things. Oh, it's nice. I'm still annoyed, and now I'm feeling bad that I was annoyed because you're just being nice. And then it's like right before I hang up. Oh, by the way, one more thing. I need a favor. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you literally just warmed, this whole thing was you just warming me up to ask me for this favor.
Yep.
Why is it so painful, man? Just living. Why is life so painful, bro?
I don't know about that part.
Dude.
Life might just be a bad thing.
My life or any life? Or life
Just
in general?
yours. Just yours.
Yeah. I was designed to experience pain at the highest possible level and suffering. Okay.
Some people like pain. You're definitely suffering through it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to learn to like it to get by. Yeah. That's the only way. It's just evolution, bro. It's just adapting to my environment. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Glentendo Entertainment System podcast. This is a weekly Nintendo/Smash community big brain, galaxy brain conversation podcast on all things Nintendo. This is a weekly show, goes up every Thursday for supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/Glentendo. And the show becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Today, we are going to talk about Pac Man 99, Nintendo Switch Online, and also we have some new details, some new leaks per se, on the upcoming and inevitable and obvious upgrade to the Switch or the Switch Pro or whatever it's going to be called. But it's currently being called something else. Found out the code name for that. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Joining me this week, today, my good friend, returning champion, Mr. Arhungry himself. Arhungry, say hello.
I was hit by an egg. Salmonella.
Yes. Dude, I was hoping that without me even asking you, you would just know that this week's movie quote better be from that movie. We're not even going to say what the movie is, but it's got to be from that movie. Who shot? He actually says, "Who shot me? Someone shot me." And then he realizes it's an egg.
He was like, "I've been shot. I've been shot."
Like it's salmonella. Hold on, just in case you weren't ready and you missed the opportunity to do that movie quote, I'm gonna need you to. I need you to introduce me the way I introduced you, so that I could do my movie quote. All right, because I had to make sure this happened, so I was ready. So do me a favor, just introduce me. I'm a guest. This is your show. I'm going to do what you do and do a random movie quote.
Just this one time, I will do what you ask of me. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Glentendo. Don't be happy for him, but here he is.
It's not a rocket ship. It's a cock and balls. Mr. Jiggle Daddy, Rumple Foreskin. What was the other one he said? The one-eyed Wonder Weasel.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Please don't hesitate to Google exactly that quote. If you need to find out what movie it's from, please Google that quote.
How are you censoring that?
I'm not gonna, bro. Cock is in the dictionary and balls are in the dictionary. Together, it might be a problem. But in this context, it was a cock and balls, not together. Okay. It's the combination that is censored.
I think there's fuck in the dictionary too.
That's true. We're gonna have to leave that in then, because you're referencing a specific version of that word that is legally sanctioned. If it's in the dictionary, it's good.
There's hole.
Yeah. See, exactly. But it's about the combo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
It can't be a true combo. It's got to be like, all right, I hit this one thing and then I hit this other thing.
Yeah, so
I said
if I just
ass.
say it really fast, hassle, right? I was 2 words. I just said it really fast.
Yeah, but I detected there was a comma there, so I'm gonna let you slide on that.
Yeah, there you go. Right?
Because you said ass, the comma, hole. It's like that South Park game, the fractured butthole.
Yeah.
Have you played that game?
No. It's like a RPG, right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm I'm planning on. I can tell my brother has like lapsed on listening to every episode of the show, so I'm just gonna spoil the surprise. He loves South Park and he loves classic RPGs, and so I'm and he has a Switch, so I'm gonna get him. Both of those games are on the Switch. They ported it like a year or two ago, and they're supposed to be great. Like they're just classic RPGs, and like it's in that South Park aesthetic. It looks like a South Park episode. It looks they That's so cool how like we're in a time now where you can actually just recreate that exact look in a video game. And now it's like it's not a 3D model of Cartman that's supposed to kind of look flat. Like there's no trickery. It just looks like exactly like South Park, which is
I'm
really
sure
cool.
there is some trickery, but it just looks like what it looks like, you know.
Yeah. So we're gonna open today with a question from at Mr. Nair SSB. Which, by the way, I just want to say I appreciate this guy a lot. He's like a very passionate, avid listener of the show. He loves the show a lot, and I just want to say, Mr. Nair, I really appreciate you. You're the man, even though you play Ike. I'm gonna let you slide.
At least he's honest though, Mister Nair.
Yeah, you know what's funny? The funniest thing about that is like you could let's just say I didn't know who he made, right? And you're like, all right, this guy is a Smash player and his tag is Mr. Nair. I could have you could interpret that as like five different characters.
Yeah,
Like it could have been Palutena, it could have been Fox, it could have been Wolf. There could have been Link. There's a lot of Nairs. There's a lot of Mr. Nairs in Smash Brothers.
yeah.
Um, so he heard our episode last week where we talked a lot about Mario Party, and he thought that was really great. So his question was, well, I was thinking that maybe you guys could talk about all the Mario Karts you guys have played and thoughts and predictions on Mario Kart 9. So for me, this is like easy because everyone knows I love Mario Kart, whatever. But I actually wanted to answer this question with you on the show because you hate racing games. So I wanted to know, like, I really want to know what your experience and history is with Mario Kart, given the fact that the end result, when you got to the finish line of racing games, you just were like, yeah, this genre. I never met someone who was like, I just hate this genre. Like, I just don't like any racing game. You're the only person I know who's like that. So, um, please tell me, first of all, where this hatred started and how much of it comes from the Mario Kart genre of racing games.
All right. So I actually when I had Mario Kart 64 as a kid, right? And I actually played it quite a bit. Like I unlocked all the tracks and like I won all the cups or whatever. Um, I like did some of the ghost races or whatever you call them, right? Um, and I had fun with it, but I was playing by myself usually, right? And whenever I played with other people, like I just like was like this is fun, but it feels inconsistent. That was like the first, like that's like it's obvious that like Mario Kart has some inconsistencies with it just because of the
Yeah, you were trying to take it
random
like as a
nature.
real competitive game. Yeah.
Not even. I was a kid, you know. I was just like 7 years old, you know. So I was just like, because my cousins they were better than me at video games, right? At the time. Now I'm godlike, right? So they would just beat me usually, like in every game we played. And Mario Kart was like kind of like I would sometimes do better, sometimes I would do worse, and I'd be like, I don't know what this is. Like this is weird. Like I did like the inconsistency didn't come up as a word in my head. You know what I mean? But I felt it. 7, 8 years old. I eventually as I got more Nintendo consoles. Like I skipped the GameCube. I talked about that story a few times on the show. I'm not gonna say it again. I got the Wii, so I bought Mario Kart Wii, expecting it to have as much fun as I did when I was younger. Right? I think I got the Wii when I was like 12 or 13 or something like that.
So hold on. So at this point, right, you had played Mario Kart 64 and that was like the majority of your racing experience. And it was at the end you would say it was pretty positive even though you would lose a lot or like you know what I mean? Like it seems like you bought another Mario Kart game because you didn't hate
Yeah.
Mario Kart based off of that first experience. So at this
Yes.
point in the timeline, Arhungry doesn't actually hate racing games yet. Is that right?
This is correct.
Your Honor, my client has tried racing games and he did not hate racing games at the
Yeah.
time.
I will say, even now, I still like Diddy Kong Racing. I
Let's
did.
go.
I did. Go
You
ahead.
can go ahead. I'll get to
Uh,
Diddy Kong Racing later. I'm glad you brought it up because that's for me an important in the lineage of the kart racer. I'm gonna bring up my experience with that, but go ahead.
it just because again, it was like a single player game, and like there's like a lot of single player content in Diddy Kong Racing, so I had a lot to do, and it's very. I thought the item system in Diddy Kong Racing is way better, where it's just the items are always consistent, and like you're rewarded for like saving power ups and like just using them like strategically at a specific moment. Like it's never up in the air. It's just like what you need to do is can you plan out ahead of time and you can make that plan without fail, you know?
So you get
So
Mario Kart Wii.
I got Mario Kart Wii and I played it online and this was like I guess like maybe like what 5 years since I played Mario Kart 64. And I'm like, this is annoying, like, because you could play that game online. That was the
Yeah, yeah,
first Mario Kart you could play online. I think maybe Mario Kart DS. I don't know if that came out
yeah. Mario
first or
Kart
after.
DS is the first party Nintendo game to have
Yeah,
online. But
but
yeah,
I
for
didn't have
home
I didn't have a
console,
DS. I didn't have a DS. So
exactly. Yeah, home console.
um,
This was the first one.
yeah, so I just remember like this game is really annoying. Like, and just like I would lose and be like, I don't feel good like losing this way. And then I would play. I try to play with myself, but I couldn't really get into it as much as I was when I was younger. Especially since like Diddy Kong Racing kind of spoiled me with all like the content it had for its single player mode. It
Hmm.
feels like they were skimping out, like they saw because Nintendo knew about Diddy Kong Racing, like they didn't know about it.
Yeah, of course.
So like it was kind of like they felt like it was skipping out on that side of the content, and I never got really got into it, and so I was kind of like sour on Mario Kart Wii, even though I didn't was like I don't dislike this game entirely. I don't know something about it doesn't feel right. you know.
Yeah,
And as I grew older, I started thinking more and more about video games, just like in general, right? I uh, try to come up with more concrete thoughts,
yeah. Like
put
not
them
just
together.
like, oh, I don't like this. It's more like, okay, well, why don't I like this? And then you start thinking about it more.
Yeah. So I remember I played like a normal racing game. I forgot which one it was. It was like one of the Forza games, right? And that's like a pretty realistic racing game. And I remember like I had lost momentum at one point in the race. And this was like in 2012, 2013 ish, right?
Yeah,
And then I remember being like, I literally cannot win now. Like, and then my opponent did nothing to stop me. I just messed up, and he
yeah,
accomplished nothing. Like, his goal was to not mess up, and my goal was not mess up. But we kind of were not interacting at all. And I remember just feeling really bad. I'm like, why is that okay? Like, and I can just get destroyed that way. Like, in terms of competition, it's actually more consistent that way, and it would be more fair. It's more like skill intensive, right? But I remember just thinking like maybe Mario Kart had it right. Like the comeback mechanics is like a good thing, right?
yeah. Right.
And then I had a 3DS, right? Then I had Mario Kart 7, which again I don't dislike that game either. I actually don't dislike Mario Kart 7 or Mario Kart 8. I actually just don't dislike Mario Kart games. I just don't. I'm not into them, and I don't like playing them in a multiplayer setting, like at all. So I guess as you could say, as a genre, I hate it, but like I wouldn't say those games are bad,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
And then I played Mario Kart 7, and I was annoyed. I'm like, these comic characters are so stupid, like, right? So I like I was kind of rationalizing to myself. I'm like, when I'm playing Mario Kart game or like a racing game rather, like I'm not really interacting with other people. Like when I'm playing it with other people, we're all just playing by ourselves together, you know?
Yeah.
And like to me, that is not fun. Like, like I'm just like, how is anybody else having fun just doing what they're gonna do and not having to interact with other people? Like, you might as well just play it by yourself, you know.
Yeah, right.
And there are games out there, a bunch of games out there, the multiplayer that are not like that, you know. That like you have to, especially because at this point I was getting into Brawl a lot, right? Like, let's come online, and then like not they are like not shortly after like Smash 4 came out. Smash and fighting games in general are really really interactive, you know, like you can't just do what you want and win, you know. You have to consider everything that your opponent's doing.
Right.
And you know, I play a lot of shooters, and that's the same too. You can't just like do a winning strategy and win, you know. It's a very like,
You have to like directly affect your opponent
yeah,
directly. It's not like
what
yeah,
they
so
do matters, what you do matters. You know, it's
yeah,
actually both of you playing with each other.
right. So the funny
And
thing is that for me, I'm in almost the exact same like trajectory. So like I actually don't like racing games as a genre. I only like Mario Kart and like Diddy Kong Racing and like the kart genre subgenre of racing, and it's for that exact reason. Like the thing that you said about Forza, where it's like I remember playing Gran Turismo on PlayStation back in the day, and I'm like, the appeal of that game is actually the single player. Like people like the fact that it's a really realistic simulator. And Forza is now the new version of that, like the better, more modern take on that, where it's like you can drive all these actual cars that exist in real life that you might not be able to drive in real life, but you can through the game. And you know, it comes with like a steering wheel and stuff. And I've always noticed those games, the appeal is that you play by yourself. It's not really multiplayer centric. And exactly like you said, Nintendo kind of like came up with this subgenre where it's like, okay, how do you make a racing game where you don't just automatically lose if you messed up once and your opponent is like miles ahead of you? Like we need to come up with these items and stuff. And obviously, you know, the meme of Mario Kart is that it's like RNG and stuff. And like there, of course, is a lot of RNG. I'm not saying there isn't, but when the skill gap is big enough, it's really hard for you to beat someone who's actually just better than you. But the problem is you have to be a lot better to do that. Like you can't just be a little bit better because the RNG will destroy you. Like you need to be so much better that even the RNG items can't stop you.
yeah, like it
So
is Mario Kart is a very high skill ceiling game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people who take it seriously are wasting their time or they're not untalented. You know, it's like it's a very very difficult game. You know, with a lot of tricks and you know just fundamentals. You know, I'm not saying that it's like
yeah,
uh,
for sure.
mm,
That is just literally a dice roll and that's it. You know, because that's what Mario Party's become, where Mario Party's become this game where there is skill involved, but it comes from just knowing the game so well. It doesn't really come from like practicing a certain move set or practicing like your driving or drift or whatever. Or like in Mario Kart, there's like tricks that you can do in certain maps to like boost over a patch of grass and cut your lap time in half. Like there's crazy stuff that is actually like it's actually technically difficult to do with your controller. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you actually have to practice how to do this technique or whatever, and it's not
and
just that easy.
that comes into the second thing that I started to think about racing games in general, right? Is that if you're playing by yourself, right? You're in a controlled environment. There is a specific best way to do something, right? Let's
Yeah,
say you're on a Mario circuit, right? Like the basic Mario Kart map, right? Or it's Mario Raceway. I forgot what it's called.
no Mario Circuit. Yeah,
Yeah. And so in that map, there's a specific path and like shortcut and drift and blah blah blah, right? That's gonna get you the fastest time, right? And there is no other way to do that better. You know?
yeah. There's
In a
no
in a way,
creativity involved in that. It's like
yeah,
someone finds the optimal route, and it's literally just, are you good enough to do the optimal route? There's no like changing how it's done or fooling the thing. It's like, no, this is the best. A straight line is the fastest path between two places. So the
yeah,
straighter that line is, the faster you're going to get there.
yeah. So eventually, it just becomes a game of like Simon Says, or like you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that, and you're like you're not thinking anymore. You're just pressing the buttons in the right order. It's like a
Right.
rhythm game almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like thought not required.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this part of the map is coming up, so you have to input this exact input correctly. Like the thing that makes the racing games cool to me, or Mario Kart, I should say, because again, I don't like racing games, is the creativity and improvisation. It actually comes into play when you do have a full room of 8 players, and all of them are about as good as you are. If everyone's like kind of casual and you have one really good guy, there's nothing you can do. That guy's just gonna destroy you. And like, I just played a game with like a bunch of Smash friends like Venya and Kool-Aid and stuff, and like they're literally top 50 players in Smash Brothers, but they're really new to Mario Kart, and like they literally couldn't see me on the map. Like the second we played Mario Kart, I was so far ahead of them so early that they were all just like, dude, like I didn't even see you once. Like I saw you at the start and that's it. And I'm like, yeah, because you guys are new. So the improvisation and creativity comes in when you have when the skill gap
Yeah,
isn't that far. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because I've
So I
definitely,
agree with that.
yeah,
I agree with that. But then like the randomness of the item, the best player isn't always gonna win.
yeah, that's 100% true. Like basically, this is the way it works in Mario Kart. The best player wins more often than not, but there's no way that you're going to be consistent because of the RNG of the items. Like there's just going to be certain maps and certain like scenarios that happen where you have to just settle for second. Like there's literally the best player in the world would not be able to like do it every single time. The thing is though that it's consistent over a set. Like if you have 32 races, if you're the best player, you're not going to get first every time. And you're going to get a lot of BS that happens to you where, like, dude, when you're playing with really good people, you can be in the lead for the entire race and get hit by you messed up one time. Not even messed up. Sometimes it's like you did what you should have done. You held your 2 items behind you as protection. Someone got 3 red shells and a blue shell is on the way from someone else. And there's literally, you have to take the hits. And even if you do the most optimal thing, everyone else being so good means that the guy in 12th place is amazing and he's going to pass. They all pass you. Like the second that you got hit, everyone passed you and you got last place. So, like, stuff like that happens and stuff. And it's like that, yeah, like it's not, it's exactly what you're saying. But my experience with Mario Kart is actually, it's very similar to yours in the sense that, actually, it's not even that similar because I didn't play my first Mario Kart game that I ever got was Double Dash. It wasn't Mario Kart 64. And everyone on the 64, like growing up, they swore by Mario Kart 64. I played it at a friend's house, and it was after I had played Diddy Kong Racing, and this is where we're similar, where I love Diddy Kong Racing because I played it primarily single player and it has a real awesome single player mode. Like that game is really great single player. So I play Mario Kart 64 and I'm like, first of all, this game is not even fully 3D. Like the character models are literally 2D sprites and like it looks really bad. It looked bad to me as a kid in the 90s. Like think about that. Like the bar wasn't that high for graphics back then for me. You know what I mean? And I thought that game looked horrible. And then on top of that, I looked at the single player mode and I'm like, all right, well, it's non existent really. So Diddy Kong Racing blew it out of the water. And then I got Double Dash and I didn't love that game. I just thought it was like, oh, it's a good game. It's not like amazing. And then Mario Kart Wii, I just skipped because it looked like Double Dash. And that was like in the era where Nintendo was doing all this casual stuff for the Wii. And I wanted like some epic ballsy game from them. And then they're like, yeah, here's our big reveal for E3 Mario Kart Wii. And it looks just like the Mario Kart game that you already have. So I just skipped that game. To this day, I haven't played it. The game that made me love Mario Kart was Mario Kart DS. Dude, that game, the single player was actually there. It's the only Mario Kart game with like a real single player campaign. It's like they had this mission mode structure. Did you play that game?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so it had this mission mode structure and it was really fun. It actually was like a 3D game. It wasn't, 2D sprites or like double dash, shiny overalls, like weird. I don't know what was going on with that game. That game just, to me, it still looks very odd. Um, and the funniest memory I have of Mario Kart DS was that again, it was the first party game Nintendo ever made that had online. So I was really excited about that. I'm like, Nintendo's finally gonna have online games. So I got Mario Kart DS, right? And I brought my DS to school, and I noticed that you need Wi-Fi, obviously, right, to play the game online. And I found that in my math class, the room was right above the computer room. So that was the only room besides the computer room that you could get Wi-Fi. So I was in math class and I would have like my textbook like on my lap, but then in and it looks like I'm holding my textbook, but I'm actually holding my DS and I'm playing Mario Kart DS online the entire class. It was awesome. And then one time like the teacher I just was lost in the game and I like lost track of where the teacher was. It was like, you know how like the school desks are like they create like a maze. It was like I'm Pac Man and she's the little ghost. And every now and then you lose track of that ghost. You're like, wait, where'd it go? I was looking at something else. And then she just appeared
She
behind me.
snatched that, right?
Yeah, dude, you just think about it from your perspective. Like you're holding a DS in front of you, right? And you're mesmerized by this beautiful Mario Kart DS. And then a hand just pops up over you. Like the hands in Zelda dungeons that pull you out of the dungeon. It was like that. It was just like, whoa, like, oh no. And then right when she grabbed it, I turned the system off, right? I just immediately pressed the power button. And so she grabbed it and she's like, what is this? And I was like, and everyone in the class is silent. They all know I've been doing this for weeks and now I'm bagged and everyone's just looking in awe like, oh boy, what's going to happen? And she's like, what is this? And I'm like, it's a, it's a calculator. And she was like, huh? And then it dawned on her, I went to school with a lot of kids who were foreign, and all the Korean kids, they had this they had a calculator slash translator device that folded open like a clamshell like that. And it did not look like a DS at all. Like it didn't have two screens on it. You know what I mean? It had nothing of the sort. It was like a very simple device. It was just like a calculator that you flipped open, right?
Yeah.
But because it was close enough, like the clamshell thing, she was like, "Oh, okay," and then she just gave it back, and I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Let's
god,
go!" That blue shell thought she had me, bro. I was like,
dude.
"No, sir, we got this,
There
bro."
was kids in my class, like growing up, like just different classes, so multiple kids, right? That they would just be like, "No, it's a DS,"
Oh
like they
man,
would
those
rat
kids,
you out.
dude. I knew a few kids like that. Somehow I got away with it that time. Like no one, luckily, no one stepped up to do that. That would you're just. Well, what kind of kid does that to another child, bro?
Yeah, as a miserable kid, he's already jaded. He's like 10 years old. He's jaded. He's like, I'm suffering.
We're all suffering. So fast
Yeah.
forward to that kid being an adult. He's the first one to sign up for jury duty, and he just comes in and goes, "Your Honor, he's guilty." You haven't even heard the trial yet. He's
Guilty.
guilty, I tell you. So yeah, ever since then, I loved Mario Kart, and I've loved every game in the series up until then. But before DS, I would say I don't really like those games as much. And yeah, to your point about the randomness, the one thing I will say before we move on from Mario Kart stuff is that the way that they do the item balancing is kind of different from game to game. And that's really what changes how annoying and how random the items will be. So, for example, in the new games, like the new formula is that the further you are from the first place guy, the better your item is going to be. So it's not tied to your race placement. So technically, you could be in second place and get a really broken item because you're far away from the first place guy. Whereas in other games, it was like the game qualifies you as second place, and even though the guy in first place is a year away from you, he's like miles away. Like you're gonna get a second place item no matter what because you're in second place. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually better when you consider better players, but worse when you're playing with people who are worse than you. So if you're
Yeah,
all better and like fifth place is like inches away from first, like that close, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
you shouldn't be getting like a star. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing, like stuff like that. Some people love that because it makes the game ridiculous, and they don't want the game to be like fair. They just want it to be ridiculous, and I get that, but I don't know. For me, I think Mario Kart 8, maybe because I'm already good at it. I've never had we have mutual friends who love Mario Kart Wii and hate Mario Kart 8, which I can't believe because I thought Mario Kart 8 was just universally praised as the best one. But I found out it's not a lot of people's favorite, and it's because of the item thing. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe because I've always been a little like I'm already really good at Mario Kart games. You know, it was never that big of a deal for me. Like I never encountered a scenario where I was like, oh my god, like that was ridiculous. You know, it just whatever.
I
But
won't like
yeah,
refuse to play Mario Kart or anything. Like if I'm at somebody's house, they're like we're all playing Mario Kart. Like yeah, I'll play. Like you know what I mean. Like but like I do actually Mario Kart 8 is probably my favorite one. This I just had it just feels the best, and I you know
yes,
I'm not like technical enough to explain why, especially in the genre,
yeah.
not, let alone just Mario Kart in general. But I definitely felt the best to play. So
Yeah, and that's why it's my favorite because number one, it looks perfect, dude. That game is like 10 years old now, or almost 10 years old. It looks if that game came out today on a PS4 or a PS5, I'm sure there's little things here and there that you could be like, oh, this should look better, but that's a amazing, beautiful looking game. Like that might be one of the best looking first party Nintendo games ever. It looks perfect. Like the art style is just nailed. And like what you said, the game feel is great. I just want more Mario Kart. Like I want more stages and more stuff, but that game is incredible. So moving on, the second part of Mr. Nair's question is predictions for Mario Kart 9. So obviously, given that you're not into this genre in general, I'm actually interested to hear your opinion on what you would want or what you think would happen with the Mario Kart 9. Me personally, um, I don't really know because I like 8 so much, and like we just said, it feels so good that for me, the only thing I could think of is like, yeah, just, make like they already have rollback net code. Like they already have like everything I could ask for. The only thing I would want is I just want more stages. Like I just want a new set of stages to learn and play the game with. And maybe like, an upgraded tournament mode so that I can organize my tournaments and have a little more options with that. But like outside of that, you know what, the single player, I would want like, hey, can you guys please do the Mario Kart DS level like single player campaign where I can buy this game and play it by myself and somehow you make that compelling. Because Mario Kart again never really nailed that except for Mario Kart DS to me. So that's the only thing I could think of. But for you, I think this is a more interesting question because you're a harder person to like convince on like Mario Kart. So what would this game need to be for you to be like, all right, I'm all in?
okay, so I think that if they want me to play the game, right, they should make it free to play. And that's not. This
Ah,
is not me being like, oh, I don't want to spend the money. If it's gonna be a multiplayer focused game, it should be a free to play game. Nintendo really hasn't adopted that policy yet for their multiplayer titles, right? And but that is the model now. You know, if there's a multiplayer game, there's a good chance that it's a free to play game. You know, even like games that were purchasable or whatever, they became free to play afterwards because it's like that's the model now. You know, like
yeah, right.
League of Legends free to play.
Fortnite,
Fortnite's free to
Apex
play. It's
Legends,
free to play. You know, it's
all
those
the battle royales. Yeah.
they're all free to play. There are still some like you have to purchase them stuff like Among Us or Fall Guys. Like those are like, but the fees are low. You know, like Fall Guys is more expensive size, like $20, right? But it's nothing compared to 60. Like a Mario Kart is going to be a $60 game when it comes out. It's going to be. You know, so but I would play it a little bit at least if it was free to play. And I'm sure people
Yeah.
would buy things like on their whatever kind of store.
Yeah. Actually, I'm really surprised that, first of all, I'm surprised you brought that up. Number two, I had no idea you were going to say that. And I'm like, that makes so much sense from so many different perspectives because, like, all right, number one, Um, I would say Mario Kart 9 coming out anytime soon is like a super low chance because, dude, this game is still selling in the top 10, not just for the Switch, for all video games. This game is unbelievable that it's still selling like this. Like, honestly, no game has been this successful for this long from Nintendo. Like, this is like unreal. So, they have no incentive to like, hey, let's just we're making money off of a 10-year-old game. Like, why would we want to just
With
like
no
compete with that?
basically with no development team to
Zero.
pay.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that it's on the horizon, but if it was free to play, that might change their idea because it would they wouldn't be competing necessarily because people well actually they would because some people would just be like, all right, we're gonna buy the free one, why would or we're gonna just play the free one, why would we buy the other one? But then free to play, you're people are gonna want to buy like all the characters, and
The
this would be
skins that they
in
could do.
dude, this would be unbelievably successful if they did this. Like a free to play Mario Kart game would be unbelievably successful. And what's funny is I actually do you follow Michael Pachter, the analyst?
No.
He's okay. So I follow him on Twitter, right? And we got into this conversation once about how like um, Nintendo is doing really, really well and stuff. And like, I remember we were talking about like, why aren't they, or how are they doing in China? Right. Cause like, that's like a new market that all the game developers or game companies are trying to crack. And Nintendo is like, just now they're launching all their stuff in China. And obviously, China's a huge market. Like, if you succeed there, you're selling billions of copies of whatever games, are succeeding. And he was saying how the big problem with Nintendo's strategy right now is they're killing it on every single possible level except for embracing free to play. That's the only area where they're like the only one that hasn't jumped into that, and they have like all the games that would do really well in that type of environment. And specifically in China, people are so used to buying bootleg stuff that like they don't have the same cultural attachment to like buying like a premium thing. Like, oh, this is the authentic premium Mario Kart. They're more than happy to just get like a bootleg version of it and like not they don't care that it's not the real thing. So free to play is really important over there because if that's the real way that's like the only way where you could beat the bootleggers is like give them a free to play version of the real thing. So
Yeah.
you're 100% right. Like that, dude, that would be I really think that would be an amazing success. And like that would be unbelievable. They would probably make insane amount of money. Like Fortnite, the amount of money Fortnite makes off of nickel and diming you with like this and this and that. Like I haven't spent money in that game yet, but I'm in the vast, vast minority. Like everyone I know has multiple skins of everything. And like that's just the future. The future is like, dude, think about it this way. I would have never played Fortnite or Apex Legends if it wasn't free to play.
Yep.
I would have never like the fact that you can just try it is the reason it works. So Mario Kart 9, hopefully it's free to play. That
I
sounds
don't think it will
amazing.
be though.
Yeah, like what do you think in terms of the odds?
Extremely, extremely low. Like I would bet sooner that it'd be $70 before it's $0. You know, even though Switch games are still $60, and now like PS5 and Xbox Series X games are like they're doing that now, $70 games. Like I'd be willing to bet more that a Switch game, same console, that they'd price it for $70 before they make it free to play.
Dude, so there's two reasons why I don't think this is likely, or at least not likely anytime soon. Number one is technically there is a free to play Mario Kart already, and it's on your phone, and it's the Mario Kart, World Tour or whatever it's called. Which I tried to play it, man. It's the most anti Nintendo game I've ever played in my life. It controls like crap because it's a freaking kart racer on a touchscreen, which already that's like non Nintendo. Number two, it has every freaking like microtransaction problem that you could imagine. It has the rolling, like here's your new reroll, here's like 7,000 different currencies. Oh, you need 8 red jewels and 1 blue jewel to do this. Like, oh, you need coins to do that. And like it has all the things that I hate about mobile games, and they just fully embraced the garbage with that one. Um, so that game is not apparently it's not doing super super well, and it's not printing money the way you would have thought a Mario Kart game on a mobile phone would. So that's number one. Maybe they're looking at that and going, "This is not the future for Mario Kart." But number two, one of the problems with Nintendo is that they do amazing things, right? Like they knock it out of the park, and like they do insane. They're the innovators of the industry. They're the guys who push things forward the most, but it always kind of comes from when they fail. And I think because Mario Kart 8 is such a ridiculous success across two different platforms, I don't think that they're going to want to change the formula until they hit the wall. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna have to slip on the banana peel, get lightninged, get 3 red shells and a blue shell, and get last place somehow before they go, okay, we're going to need a new strategy for this series. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
to change it that drastically where they're like, okay, we went from charging you $60 for a 10-year-old game and never discounting it. It's never been on sale, like nothing. The most sale you've gotten for Mario Kart is the bundle that came with the Switch for Black Friday. And they did the same bundle for every year that the Switch has been out. They've never changed it. So if that's the most that they're willing to do, I highly doubt they're going to be like, oh yeah, the next one's free to play. Like, why would they do that? So I think it's a good idea though, and I'm actually really surprised you brought that up. That was not what I was expecting you to say at all. I was expecting you to just like address the things of like the single player and like the stuff that we don't like about Mario Kart games compared to the god Diddy Kong Racing.
yeah. I mean, just like it's not realistic. I don't think
Yeah,
to expect those things. I mean, even what I'm suggesting isn't realistic, but it
yeah,
it's realistic, but it's improbable, implausible. It's just like it's not gonna happen, but it could happen. And the single player stuff, I don't think it's gonna happen. And I don't think it would happen. I don't think it should happen. Almost, it's like it's almost like a waste of their time because nobody
it's like
cares. Nobody cares.
yeah, it's like Call of Duty where it's like they started shipping versions of the new Call of Duty games without a campaign because the vast majority of people did not play that game single player. They would just buy it and play online. And like if we're being honest, like people like me and you who would want like a single player Mario Kart game, we're in the vast minority. Like the majority of those people just want to play it like with other people. Um, but yeah, great question from Mr. Nair SSB. I actually love you, bro. Thank you for supporting the show and being so excited about it all the time.
Last thing I'll
Um,
say though,
yeah, go ahead.
they need to fix the battle mode. They got to make it arenas again.
Well, did so remember the battle mode wasn't in the Wii U version of Mario Kart 8. There was no real battle mode. Like it was like this gimped, stupid mode where you were in
A
the
racetrack.
racetracks. Yeah, they fixed that in deluxe. So the Switch version, it has like a classic battle mode,
Oh, okay.
and it
Never
has
mind.
like its own unique tracks. But honestly, I'm not surprised you missed that because I always forget about that. Like everyone complained about the battle mode when the game came out, and then when they fixed it, it was like no one cared. Like no one I
It's too
know plays
late.
battle mode.
It's too
Yeah.
late.
um, but yeah, moving on. It's April, and I was curious to ask you what like. All right, so we're in this weird mode where I feel like we're in a little bit of a drought in terms of Switch games, but like no one's really feeling that way because there's so many old games to play and there's just enough stuff here and there to keep everyone satiated. But like, I feel like this is a long gap. And for me, the next game that I'm excited for that has a date, obviously, we're not going to get into like Breath of the Wild 2 and stuff and like Metroid Prime 4. Like, those, I'm talking about games that have a date that we know when they're coming out. The next game is actually coming out at the end of the month, which is Pokemon Snap. Um, and that's like the only game that's on the roadmap right now that I'm like looking forward to for this console. And like you're even less of a Switch player than me. Like you obviously love your Switch and play a lot of games on. I'm not saying you don't, but like it's not you have a lot of other stuff to play too. So what for you, what is like actually on the roadmap that you're like, oh, this is how far away the next game is that I care about on this platform?
Um,
Or maybe it's a false question and there isn't a game yet.
I guess the game would be Skyward Sword HD because of the
Oh,
new
right.
control settings. I would like to play the game that way.
Yeah, that's July, I think.
Yeah, it's
Right.
July 16th. And
Okay.
then other than that, like nothing really. Like
What about the do we know when the Shin Megami Tensei games are coming out?
I think they come out pretty soon, but I'm cutting it on PC, so I don't know if that counts.
Oh, why did I think wait, is the new one
I think
is the
5.
sequel a Switch exclusive? I know the port
It
of the old
might
one
be.
is not.
It might be, but I'm not really sure.
Gotcha.
They kind of implied that it was.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, like this year, like the first 4 months of this year, like we had Mario 3D 3D World, Bowser's Fury, which was great, but like half the majority of that is a game I already bought and played. And I've waited until I'm still waiting, and now we're in April. I'm like, all right, I still got to wait the entire month to play like a new game on my Switch that I care about. Um, so yeah, it's a little off, a ways off. Pokemon Snap, by the way, like I'm excited about that game, but then I started thinking about it recently, and I'm also a little worried about that game because I just pre-ordered it digitally on the eShop, right? So I had a bunch of money already in my account, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm guaranteed to buy this. Let me just pre-order it now, and it'll just appear on my system when it comes out. And then after I pressed purchase and I like saw like $60, you know, purchase, I'm like, wait a second, like it just dawned on me, this is a full price game, and the original is great, but it's really really short. Like the original game is a game that you can beat in like 5 hours, 100%, maybe even less. Like it's a really short game. It's brilliant concept and it's awesome, and it's definitely like it left a lasting impression on everyone who enjoys it. But like now I'm thinking like I just paid $60 and I don't really know that much about this game, and I'm like, what if it's like a 4 hour game? What if like am I gonna regret the full price for this? Did you
Well,
play?
I
Well,
did play.
sorry, go ahead.
I did play Pokemon Snap. I remember liking it a lot, but I kind of agreed with Nintendo before, where they're like, "There's no real appeal of this game anymore." Like, part of the appeal of Pokemon Snap was that there was no 3D Pokemon. You know, like there was Pokemon Stadium. And again, Pokemon Stadium. The appeal of that was seeing the characters in 3D. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
and then like seeing like the different angles. Like, oh, this is where the Pokemon live, and like
Yeah, I
that
didn't
that
think about
was
that.
that was kind of the appeal of Pokemon Snap, where you're like, oh my god, in the distance you can see the Lapras or whatever, like, and that was just like filling your imagination. Like it was just like this is what you imagine it was as a kid from playing like Pokemon Red, and Blue, Yellow, whatever, and then you like saw it and you're like, wow, this game is amazing. But the actual like mechanics of the game are very dry. Like I'm not saying it has to be like this like epic like rail shooter because it's a rail shooter, right? Like if you
Yeah,
like if you like break it down, right? Like it knows what it's trying to be and it did what it should have done. But going to like the modern age, right, where like a lot of the Pokemon environments are more refined, right, and there's still a lot of room to grow, and I think they're trying to do that with like the Arceus game or
exactly. Yeah, Pokemon Legends Arceus.
yeah, and but they can do like a lot of beautiful things with Pokemon Snap, but how long that game should be is like questionable too, because it really do you really want like a 60-hour Pokemon Snap game? Like a game that's
Yeah,
longer isn't inherently better. If anything, most games are too long.
yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. Where I was like, the original one is really good, partly because it's short. Because that kind of concept, like exactly what you're saying, it's like that type of game is actually better if it's shorter. So now that I already paid $60 for this new one, I'm like, wait a second. Let's say it's $60 and it's, just like the original. That means I'm going to really enjoy it, but it might be a little more too expensive for how much content is in there. But then it's like the opposite problem could happen too, where it's like, do I want like a 20 million hour Pokemon Snap game? Like, I don't know. Especially because like we don't really know that much about the game. Like they haven't shown a lot, and like they've only shown that like there's this new feature where the Pokemon light up if you have the right circumstances because they're part of this new exotic tropical island in the Pokemon universe where Pokemon light up or whatever. So like I don't know. We're gonna see, but you're right. Like that's the problem. Is like it might be a better game if it's shorter, but that means I overpaid. And and
Nintendo is more than happy for you to do that,
yes, sir, they're putting
and it's
Pokemon on that box art. You're paying a premium, boy.
usually the trade off of shorter games is the replayability, right? Which in many cases, for me at least, I end up playing those games more than I play like a 30-hour game. Because like a 30-hour game, I'll play it like once, maybe twice. It like depends, right? But like a 5-hour game, I'll play it like 20 times. Like, and it's already 100 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and those rail shooter, that whole genre, including Star Fox and like those arcade games like Time Crisis and stuff like that, like they're designed, that genre is almost designed for you to repeat levels and try to improve your run. And that's what the way the original Pokemon Snap was. It was like you would go into a level and you would like take pictures of the Pokemon, but then you go, oh, I missed this thing here, or like next time I come, I can do this because of that. So it's like designed for you to do that. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping that they figured out a way to, make that price point match the content of the game without it being overkill. Because I can definitely see the Switch has had a lot of games, like first party Nintendo games, that feel bloated and feel like, dude, like, all right, collecting all these Korok seeds is too much. You know what I mean? Like all these moons in Mario Odyssey, sometimes it feels like too much. So we'll see.
what I'll say
But
is that
yeah.
consumers do not know what they want, right? So I hope that they just figure something out because they're gonna say they wanted a new Pokemon Snap game, and then they're gonna play it, and they're gonna be like, "This sucks. The original was so much better." It could literally be the same game, right? And
Yeah.
they'll say that,
Yeah, that's true. And like, dude, this game is a long awaited sequel. It's like a 30-year-old sequel. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm excited about it regardless. And like, I already paid for it. So whatever. Like, I'll just enjoy it as much as I can. Um, but yeah, speaking of free to play stuff from earlier, the Mario Kart conversation, it just dawned on me that this week we got Pac Man 99, which just random announcement. Like 2 days ago, Nintendo announced this is a game that's coming to free for Nintendo Online subscribers. And it's just like it sounds. It's like Tetris 99, but with Pac Man. It's like Mario 35, but with Pac Man. And so you're playing Pac Man with 99 other players and you're playing Pac-Man and you're sending sabotage Pac-Man to other players and you're trying to it's basically a battle royale. You're trying to be the last Pac-Man standing. And it's a free to play game. So it's actually funny because Nintendo, now that I think about it, I didn't mention this earlier when you brought it up, but they have done some free to play stuff, I guess, if you consider, Tetris 99 and Mario 35. Um, and have you played this game yet? This Pac-Man 99 thing?
I haven't got to try it now.
Okay, you haven't had much time because it came out late last night. Like if yesterday, if you tried to play it or like at 12 p.m., it wasn't out yet. Um, but it's really fun, dude. Like one of the things that I really like about this game is they incorporated the Pac-Man Championship Edition. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? So
Yes.
that game is awesome. And one of the things that they did with that game to mix up the classic formula is that you're you're kind of doing this meta game of as you're playing Pac-Man, like regular Pac-Man and just going through the maze and biting stuff. Uh, you're trying to the ghosts. There's like a ghost train that starts building, and like the more bonus fruit you get and the more pellets you get, the longer the train gets. So you're always kind of playing this weird game where you're like, I'm trying to get that train as big as possible before I eat it. But if I let it get too big, it might kill me if I don't have a power pellet. You ready? So they added that to this game. And so you're chaining together all these ghosts, and then you're like finally like, all right, now I'm gonna eat the pellet and I'm gonna eat these guys, and then you eat like 50 of them in a row, and it's such a gratifying feeling. Um, so yeah, this game is actually really good. It's really fun. Obviously, it's free for Nintendo Online subscribers. Which, if you're listening to the show, 90% chance that you have an online subscription or you play like Smash Online or Mario Kart or whatever. And the only other thing is that they have like just like Tetris 99, they have like a bunch of features that are not that you can see are locked away, and you have to pay like for the DLC. So you pay like $15 and you get like all these different modes and like offline mode and time attack and stuff like that. But even just the base free thing that's there, I think is really good. It's like actually just really fun just by itself if you don't pay a dime. Um, so yeah, this is really interesting, and obviously it caught us by surprise, and it's really fun, and it's the third game of this thing. Like that's like a new subgenre of battle royale, the 99 style game where it's like Tetris 99, Mario Brothers 35, and Pac Man 99. Like, what will be the next game in this stupid lineage of subgenre games. Like, what would you actually want to see? Some old game where they're like, oh, well, now we doing this 99.
That's I thought about it a little bit. I think the obvious answer is obviously like Puyo Puyo. Like,
Oh yeah, the puzzle games lend themselves so easily to that.
but I'm not really sure. Like,
Yeah,
what kind? I was thinking that maybe it could be like a like a Star Fox 99.
that would be sick.
Like you just like in a huge because like you remember Star Fox 64 multiplayer was like in an arena,
Yeah,
right? But I'm thinking of like make that arena fucking enormous. Like just make it
yeah.
enormous, right? And you just like and make it like Fortnite where like the like the storm closes in the center, like
Oh, that would be sick. I actually interpreted it when you said Star Fox. I thought of it in a different way. Like, you imagine just like the Super Nintendo Star Fox, like very just like basic and rudimentary graphics, right? And you're flying, and in those games, those are arcade style games. So like, it's like we said earlier about like Time Crisis and on rail shooters. Like, it's about getting the high score and doing the run multiple times better. So you can get combos in Star Fox, and you have like a combo counter, and there's ways to like kill three enemies at once and get like the maximum amount of like bonus points or whatever. So imagine you're flying, right? And it's just like Tetris 99 where you see your screen, but then you see all the other Star Fox screens on the side of other players. And as you're getting the combos, the higher the chain that you get, the more it sends those enemies to the other player. And then as the people are eliminated, when it gets to like the top 20, the game starts getting faster and faster and faster. And like you have to go through the arches and like, oh no, I got to fly through here. And oh no, I have one wing now. Like that might actually be pretty
they could,
sick.
yeah, if we're going by the true 99 style where it's like kind of like the
Yeah.
classic game playing by yourself and then like things are thrown at you, then I guess that is actually better than what I was trying to say. And then you could have it like, let's say you get a combo in your game, in your like little, in your own Star Fox game, like you send like enemies on the other side, and like it's harder to avoid them, and
Yeah. It's
or
funny
like
because,
you get different power ups and 10 different like
yeah.
debuffs. Like
Yeah.
now you can't shoot, you just gotta avoid, something like that. Like
The funny thing is, this is kind of goes back to what you said earlier about racing games, where it's like you're playing by yourself together. It's like 99 people are playing by themselves together,
yeah.
and they're kind of throwing things there at each other. But
Well,
that
that's
would be
actually what I liked about
hilarious.
Mario 35 a lot was that you can actually kind of pay attention to what other people are doing and just be like, okay, I'm not going to kill these Goombas here because I'm going to give him easier time, easier like way to get more time.
Yeah, right. Because the
Like
Goombas are just like no one's gonna die to the Goomba. Like, it's better if you send over the Hammer Bros or like the Squid or Bowser or
yeah,
whatever.
so like you'll like will lose time by not killing them, right? But you have
Yeah,
so much time that you can afford to lose it. But if you
yeah,
kill these Goombas now, you're gonna send them to the other guy, and he has less time, and he can chain those Goombas and then catch up back into the game. So it's worth
yeah,
to like skip them, So that's what I liked a lot about that game, where there was like a meta game of it, or like you would go to intentionally difficult levels to kill difficult enemies.
yeah. What if
So
they did Mario 64?
Mario 64, Mario 64 35.
Yeah, Mario 64 99.
Yeah,
Oh man, that would be
how would that
hilarious.
even work? I don't know.
So, all right, now one other thing I was thinking about a lot was how now we have Mario 35, which is still online, by the way. That game was supposed to go away April 1st to end the Mario, celebratory stuff. And it's still online. I guess maybe they're just like, all right, we'll just leave this up. So they have that. They have Mario. I mean, they have Tetris 99. Now they have Pac Man 99. These are all games that are free. They're exclusive to Switch online. And I wanted to kind of revisit this thing that we talked about like a bunch of episodes ago about like, how do we feel about Nintendo's online service as an overall service? Like, just revisiting, like, okay, where are we at now? Because like we have these new games now there that are free, and they're really unique. These are really cool, unique games that exist only if you have this service. And I wanted to compare and like just see how it fares, because sometimes I feel like all the critiques like Nintendo Online is almost a joke. Like even that those words in and of themselves, you know what I mean? Especially I'm on the Smash community where it's like all we do is complain about the how bad the netcode is, and the netcode's actually worse now. We don't have to get into that, but there was a recent patch that encrypted a bunch of this code in the game and somehow made the Smash Brothers netcode even worse. So, but just in general, the Nintendo Online, like, do you think it's fair at this point? Maybe it's different when it was at launch, but now where we're at now, given everything that you can do with Nintendo Online, do you think it's like actually a good service for the value?
Um,
And just to give some backstory, so number one thing is that comparing it to PlayStation Plus and comparing it to Xbox Gold, Xbox Live Gold, those are both $60 a year, and the Nintendo one is $20 a year. So it's a lot cheaper. You get cloud saves, you get access to the NES and SNES games, and they also have online multiplayer functionality through the Switch Online. And you get some exclusive stuff, like you can Switch Online members like get there's like some downloadable content. It's very like light and minimal stuff, but it's like there's like spirits that you can fight in Smash Brothers, or like an exclusive rug that you can get in Animal Crossing. And there's like little things like that. And then of course we have the unique games like Tetris 99 and Pac Man 99 and Mario 35. And that's kind of it. Like you get to play your games online, obviously, and you get these bonus perk stuff. Um, what do you think about the service overall
all right.
as it
So
stands?
I'm gonna make just like a broad statement here, right? Every online service, Nintendo Switch Online, PS Plus, Xbox Live Gold, it's a scam. It's an
Yeah,
absolute scam, right? Like, let's just think about this, right? So let's just go from PlayStation. So let's just do a PlayStation just for like a just to put it into perspective, right? The PlayStation 2, right, had online, and it's the best selling console ever, right? At least for now.
yeah, probably
Free.
forever.
Maybe forever, maybe, right? Uh, um, free online. PlayStation 3, not as popular, still extremely popular. One of the most best selling consoles of all time. Free online. PlayStation 4, still among the ranks. Suddenly you have to pay for it. Like, you know why? Because on the original Xbox, you had to pay for it. And on 360, you had to pay for it. So they're like, wait a minute, they're making money off of doing nothing? Like, like
Yeah, and
it's
that's I just like someone else I know was saying how like Sony and Nintendo held out for a long time. Like Sony started PS Plus back in the PS3 days, right? And then that's when you had to start paying for that service or whatever. But you could still play most of your PS3 stuff for free online. Nintendo didn't jump in until now, until the Switch. Like two years ago, they started their thing, and forever Nintendo was like, "We're doing free online." It is a scam because it's like, dude, you're already paying your internet provider for your internet. So you're already paying for internet. So why do you have to pay for your internet on a specific device? That doesn't make any sense. And that's why we have all these perks that like what we just talked about, because they kind of know that this is kind of like this is a scam. And Microsoft succeeding with Xbox Live on the Xbox in 2002, like that's what started this problem. Like them succeeding created this thing where now people expect to pay more. Imagine you bought a phone and you had to pay to use your apps online. Imagine that. Like, think about that. You pay for internet and then you pay for a device, and then you have to pay for the device to work with your internet. That does not make sense. Like, that is just wrong. It's wrong, and it sucks that, like, as gamers, we just have to do it. Like, unless you're a PC gamer and you're like, you don't pay money for Steam games to be online. Some of the same games that you pay money to play online on PlayStation and Xbox, you play that exact same game with those exact same players on Steam without paying extra for your online because you're already paying for it. It makes no sense, dude.
Here's the thing, right? Like the companies that make these games, right? Let's say Call of Duty, right? They have to they have to like pay for the servers themselves. It's not like Xbox is paying for it, you know. So like I almost don't want to say this out loud. Just in case like some company gets some idea from hearing this. Like if we should be paying anybody, it should be paying them, right?
Yeah. I mean, isn't that what, like, for example, Ubisoft has Uplay and, like, obviously, like, Epic has the Epic Game Store and stuff. Like, I think they try. Like, EA has, like, their own freaking annoying EA Play or whatever. Um, so they're all trying to monetize, but it's always like this thing of like, dude, you like, all right, so we'll go back to what we think about Nintendo Online specifically as a service, but like already you and I are agreeing that just the concept of having to pay for online in general, not just Nintendo, with everybody, is really stupid, and it's really annoying that you have to. Um, that being said, because again, like Steam, you don't pay for Steam. Like you just don't have to pay for Steam. You're already paying your internet provider. It makes no sense. That being said, now that we're in this post, you pay for online world, and Nintendo's is the cheapest one, and sometimes actually gets a bad rap because again, some people used to make fun of like, oh, Nintendo's the cheapest one, and you can see it in their net code and how bad their online games are, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not really 100% true because the Smash Brothers is where most people kind of gravitate towards, which I understand that's the most important one, but like Smash Brothers is made by Namco, developed by Namco, and it's in Namco's legacy of crap online is in Smash Brothers. Nintendo's first party games that they made internally are all really good, except for like Mario Party. Mario Party's online is horrible. But Mario Kart 8, ARMS has rollback. It's a first party Nintendo fighting game with rollback netcode. Mario Kart 8, Splatoon 2 doesn't have like the best netcode. It's actually a little bit worse than it was on the first game, but it's still really good. Like it's not Smash Brothers level of like annoying and bad. Like you can play the game at a high level and for the most part do really well. So um their online is actually good enough, I would say. But in terms of the overall service, I'll just say for me personally, um, it is kind of apples to oranges and stuff because, like, for example, you get free games with PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live, right? Xbox Live's free games, by the way, are horrible. Like the games that they try to give you for free, it's not like Halo and like Gears of War and the games that you really want. It's just like random games that are not that good. Whereas PlayStation gives you, dude, PlayStation is giving away this month Final Fantasy VII Remake, Oddworld. If you have a PS5, you can get the new Oddworld game that just came out. You can get it for free with PlayStation Plus. So PlayStation actually kills it with the free games, and that alone justifies the $60 a year because you're like, oh, if I just download one free full price game, that's already the exact amount I'm paying for a year of PlayStation Plus, and then you're getting all those other free games. So again, paying for online is stupid, but now that we're in this post online world, Sony's PlayStation Plus is like probably the better one. Um, but I think Nintendo's is really good in the sense that you're getting new games that are not you're not just so the PlayStation model is really cool, right? Like who doesn't want a free copy of Final Fantasy 7? Nintendo's not giving you for free something on that level. But the problem with PlayStation's approach is that most people already kind of buy those games. So even though you're getting really high quality games for free, you run the thing of like for me, I already have Final Fantasy 7 remake. And so I don't really care that it's free.
Okay,
Whereas
so
with
let's look at it from
Nintendo
the casual
Online,
perspective, right?
yeah,
We're talking about like, okay, if you're a Switch casual, right? You're playing maybe Mario Kart, maybe Smash, maybe like uh Mario Odyssey, right? Like just like
yeah, the baseline Switch player.
baseline Switch player, right? and you're playing for online now, right? You're getting these old NES SNES games. You may or may not be interested, right? And nothing else, right? And let's say you're like the baseline PlayStation consumer, right? You could maybe you're playing Call of Duty, maybe you're playing Fortnite or Apex or whatever, right? Or FIFA. You're gonna buy just that game, and then you get more free games, you know. So
Yeah.
that will lead you into buying more games.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And
And
then for the casual
yeah.
Nintendo player, they're just having to pay because they're not getting anything else out of it, you know.
Yeah. So the thing is that, again, I don't know which. I would say Xbox's service is probably the least interesting to me overall because, again, you're getting free games that you don't really care about. They never knock it out of the park with that,
Well, now they're doing the Game Pass stuff, and it's like
which is
the game,
separate. Yeah.
but no, it comes with it.
Well, it depends if you bought. I'm pretty sure that Game Pass was like you can get Xbox Live Gold, right? Or you can get Game Pass and it includes Xbox Live. But there are people who just get Xbox Live and don't have Game Pass.
Well, that's the thing. They're trying to basically replace.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Game Pass is definitely the best of the three,
Oh,
like no question.
Game Pass is ridiculous, dude.
Especially now that they own Bethesda,
It doesn't even
it's
make
like,
sense.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't think it's even fair to compare them anymore because it's like the real service is Game Pass,
yeah.
you
I
know.
almost thought
So
of it as like a separate thing still because it feels like most people don't have Game Pass yet. There are still a lot of people that just have an Xbox and they're like, I don't know why you would. Like if I had an Xbox, I would just get Game Pass. It's like the obvious thing. Um, but the one point I did want to make is that at the very least, I would say that it's not like I think sometimes when we talk about this stuff, like maybe Nintendo does have the worst service, even when we consider all these things. But I think they're doing a lot of interesting things that we don't talk about. So, for example, like I said, Pac Man 99, Tetris 99, and Mario 35, those are new experiences. Those aren't old. They are old games, obviously, but like that's a new remix on those games. And they're really fun and
yeah,
they're really good. And I would rather have stuff like that than get Final Fantasy VII Remake for free because I'm already going to buy those games at launch. And like, for example, if they started giving away Breath of the Wild for free, I would be like, wow, that's really great. But who has a Switch and didn't already buy that game? Like, in a way, it's almost like, is it really great? Like, it
okay.
maybe,
So let me get into that, right? That
yeah,
point specifically. Well, let's say they usually give you two games, right? And one of them is usually a popular game, one is usually less popular.
yeah,
So you get like, let's say you miss out on one of them, you get a different game, and you have a new game to try. Like the amount of okay, so there's 24 games in a year, right? That you get from PlayStation Plus, right? The odds of you having each of those games is low, right?
yeah,
So
that's a
at
good
worst,
point.
at worst, right? You got zero new games, right? That's like the worst case scenario. The least likely scenario, and like even less likely, one game, right? One game a year, that's already $60. You know, that's that you paid for it basically. You know, but if you got 24 games, right? All 24 were new. Like it just depends on the ratio. And there's some games that are like $60 that you're like, I don't think I'm interested in that game, but now that it's free, I'm gonna try it. You know,
Yeah, right.
and that's happened, I'm sure, a lot for some people. You know,
For
especially a
sure.
game like
Yeah.
the Outer World Soulstorm that just came out, right? Or
hmm
rather, it's coming out. I don't know.
No, it just came out 2 days ago. Yeah.
Okay, it came out 2 days ago. Oddworld is like a weird game. You know, it's not like a game for everybody. You know,
Yeah,
just like
facts.
every Oddworld game has like something weird about it, and that's kind of like the appeal of those games. And
Yeah.
if you told me, like, if you told like a Fortnite gamer, oh, just pick up Oddworld, right? They're gonna be like, I don't think so, but it's free now because you play Fortnite with your PlayStation Plus. Like, okay, I'll try it out. You've heard it say it's good and it's free. I'll just try it. You know, but those games are for new experiences, right? You're getting new experiences because even they did Fall Guys for free when it came out. You know, look how big Fall Guys is. You know,
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great game to do for free, especially because you need
yeah,
so many people to play it.
yeah. So, but the games like Tetris 99, Pac Man 99, Mario 35, those are games that could exist outside of like of those services. You know, like the fact
Yeah.
that we're getting them for free is not actually that big a deal.
Yeah, and
You
they
know, like because
actually.
Mario 35. Well, let's say more something like Pac Man 99 because it's like Pac Man's not like tied to Nintendo, right?
Mhm.
So Pac Man 99 could exist on Steam for free. It could just exist on Steam for free, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But a game like Abe's Odyssey or Abe's Oddworld, well, Abe's Soulstorm, whatever it's called, right? Oddworld Soulstorm, Oddworld Soulstorm,
That is the
right?
most different ways I've heard someone mix up those names.
Yeah, right.
Storm
Uh,
Soul.
so blah, blah 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 blah. So Oddworld Soulstorm, right? That game is not going to exist for free anywhere, right? But now you're getting it for free because of the service.
Yeah,
See,
and
see
it's
how that's different?
no, it's 100% different. It's this. So it's funny because it's like a reverse Trojan horse. So for example, um, well, actually, so here's what I was gonna say. If you go to like a store right now and you go to the Switch games section, you can find Tetris 99 in a box at the store. And the reason for that is because this is the clever thing they do. They people will buy a Switch and they'll see a Tetris game and go, "Oh, I want to get Tetris for the Switch." And what you're actually buying, what's actually in that box, is a Nintendo Online subscription. And the Tetris, you get the full Tetris 99 thing instead of just the free version. But like, it's a Trojan horse for them to give you on their online service. So Pac Man 99 is going to be in a store as well. And so it's kind of this funny thing of like, it feels like if you already have Nintendo Online, it feels like, oh, there's this bonus thing that's just for you. And it's like, oh, you can just play this for free. But really, it's the opposite. They're trying to just Trojan horse people into the subscription service. And I was going to say that it's different from Abe's Odyssey being free because, like you said, it would get people to try it that probably would never give that type of game a shot. But then again, I'm also thinking maybe Abe's Odyssey is the exception, but like for example, Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? They advertised the hell out of the fact that that's the free game for this month. And I think it's also a Trojan horse thing of like, oh, were you thinking of buying this game that is really popular and like everyone's talking about how great it is and you've definitely heard of it? Well, don't buy the game, just get a PlayStation subscription for the same price and you get the game for free. So it's kind of a similar thing, but you're right in the sense that the difference is that the vast majority of people are now going to try games that they never would try otherwise, and that's completely better and different than what Nintendo's doing. Like Nintendo's not giving you the only thing Nintendo does for free now is they do these demos that are exclusive. There are some Switch Online exclusive like previews that you get for games. They've only done it like once or twice, but they're doing a little bit of that. So yeah, you're right. It's really apples to oranges, and like PlayStation's approach is definitely better in that way. I just felt like I wanted to give them their due for the fact that it's still an exclusive experience that is only available on Nintendo's online thing.
Well, what I'm
And
saying
I like
is,
that it's at least there's some unique thing to it and it's not just games that exist in other places. Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah, but well, the difference is that the exclusivity part is not good. Like it
Yeah.
like
So
it's a
you're
it's
saying
like it's a double negative, and it ends up it doesn't mean that it's a positive. You know?
yeah, right. It's like, guess what? This is the only place you can get this. It's like, yeah, since when is that a good thing? It's like you're only saying it's a good thing because it's another crumb while you're already in jail. Like,
Yeah,
you're already in
basically.
jail, so me giving you something is hype. But it's like, you shouldn't be hyped that you're in jail in the first place. Like, that should just be everyone gets this, not people in
Yeah. So
jail.
look, okay. So let's say we remove the online aspect for it, right? Let's go with the PlayStation service. Let's say I'm like, okay, I'm gonna charge you $60 a year, but I'm gonna give you 24 games spread out throughout the year. That's a good deal, right?
Yeah, yeah, that is.
Okay, so let's reverse it now. Nintendo. Okay, so I'm gonna charge you $20 a year, a lot cheaper than 60. I'm only gonna give you about like maybe 3 games across 3 years. All right, let's say Tetris 99, Pac Man 99, and Mario 35. Right, that's 3 games within 3 years. Right,
Yeah.
and then we're also gonna let you have like this Netflix style NES and Super Nintendo thing. Like, is that like worth it? Like for a lot of people, it isn't. You know, like would you pay $20 for like the Netflix style NES and Super Nintendo thing? A lot of people would not. You know. And I think what the difference is that for the Sony thing, it's like I think people would actually pay for that by itself. Like this, like if it was marketed that way, I think people would buy into it.
Yeah, because it's almost like it is like Game Pass in a way. Like it's just a more limited version of Game Pass. It's like a
Yeah,
smaller version of it. But I was about to say that so we didn't mention yet the NES and SNES games, and I think that it's kind of sucks because I actually think that that service is really good. And that service is actually really interesting because you get the multiplayer element of it, which I'm like, from an engineering perspective, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe they actually did that because I just wouldn't expect Nintendo to do it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't expect them to go, yeah, you can play the original Legend of Zelda online multiplayer. Like, it's almost like we take it for granted that they even did that. Which again, applauding someone for doing something that should have been a standard. So I'm not trying to like say that's a great thing. Um, but we forget about that service, and I think because me and you are people that already bought a lot of those games and played the hell out of them a million years ago, it's not something that I care about. Like I can't even tell you the last time I opened my NES app and really like dug deep through it. You know what I mean? I've already played all the games I want to play on the NES. I bought the NES Classic. I bought the SNES Classic. For me, it's like I'm the last person that service would be really good for. And but I don't want to take it for granted because there are so many people. I can't tell you how many people when I tell them like you have to play Super Metroid or you have to play Link to the Past, they're like, "Oh, I can already play it for free on my Switch, and it's portable, and it's online multiplayer, and it's just like I think that part of the service would be better if they had more games and it was more consistent and it wasn't just like the first party Nintendo stuff and then bottom of the barrel like third party stuff. Like if you were able to play like all the Mega Man games and like all the Castlevania stuff and all the Final Fantasies, that would be huge. And that would
yeah, but a
actually
lot of
maybe
developers don't want to do that because they're doing that on their own. They're like, buy a
yeah,
collection, buy their
yeah.
Castlevania collection, buy Mega Man
And those
Anniversary,
collections are
whatever.
selling. Yeah, those collections are selling like crazy, by the way. Like the Street Fighter collection sold millions of copies. So like I think they probably thought that it wasn't going to be the case and that it would be easier to draw those guys in the way they did with the virtual console on the Wii and on the Wii U. But overall, I would say let's just not take that for granted because even though those are old games, they're free on this service. And some of those games are the best games ever made. You know what I mean? So like maybe for me and you, like I have no interest in playing A Link to the Past again on my Switch. There's like 0% chance I'm gonna do that. But there are a lot of people who never played that game who are new to like the Nintendo world through the Switch. And I think it's not on the level of value for sure. It's definitely not close to the value of, what Sony's doing, but it's still pretty cool. And it's still some of those games are really not easy to get. And so I want to applaud them at least for that. Like that, if they flesh that out, I think if they flesh that out, offered some free games, like at this point, man, like Mario Kart 8 or something like that, being the free game for the month or something, like that would be huge. And that would be great.
Yeah,
If
so
they
let
started
me let
doing stuff like
me
that, I think they can rival that. But then again,
yes.
they're also charging you $20, so it's like they're not trying to like give you a $60 game for $20 a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so let me give another example, right? So a lot of people like to bring in piracy into like the mix. It's like, well, I could just emulate all those games, right? And you can also pirate a lot of the games you get on PS4. Like if you really try hard enough. Obviously, it's easier to do the older games, right? But I'm not trying to. My argument isn't actually the piracy itself that it's free, right? But the emulators themselves are better and have more options, right? So that's just limited to Nintendo stuff. So if I want, I can plug in a game controller and play Super Metroid on my PC, right? I can't do that on the Switch service. It has to be with the regular Switch controller. Like
Yeah. Or you get another online bonus for the online members is like you get to buy the Super Nintendo Switch controller and the NES controller. But first of all, you have to buy them. You just have the opportunity to buy them if you're an online subscriber. So it's not really a bonus. And yeah, you those are expensive, by the way. They are not cheap. So yeah, you're right about that. Just wanted to make sure like that there is an exception, and I will say, at least at the very least, the Switch, you can plug in a lot of controllers into that USB port and it will read it. So you do have a lot more
Yeah,
options than you normally would with even to get with Xbox, and Sony don't do it as much in terms of like the GameCube controller and like all these old controllers. You can use them, but
yeah,
yeah, it's not going to rival the PC. You know what I mean?
yeah. So, are something like the amount of save states or rewind features, or you know, like the amount of features that emulators have nowadays are insane, right? And none of those options, not none of those, but like the it's definitely bare bones in comparison, right? So that is a service that should be better, if you compare it to what's available, like let's say that both of them were $20. Let's get price out of the way, right? Because a lot of people try to say, "Oh, I get those games for free," and it's like, yeah, but you're not doing it legally, right? Like the
Yeah.
emulator people will like argue like, well, I don't care, they'll they'll make up any excuse to morally justify it, right? Like, and I'm not saying that they're all wrong, right? Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. But let's just get price out of the way. Let's just make it both of them are $20. Or better yet, both of them are free, right? So they're both free, and one of them is the Switch Online service, right? Like, well, not the online service, but the NES and SNES libraries, right? And the other is the emulator with all those features and any game, right? Like any game you want, you could have it. It's like, which one would you pick if they were both free? You would not pick the Switch Online service.
Of course not. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
if they were both $20, you would pick the other one still. You would still pick the other one. So it's up to Nintendo to make it worth those $20. You
Yeah,
know?
so that was going to be my next question is like, okay, Sony and Microsoft have a better service. They're also more expensive. Do you think that at the very least, for $20 a year, and actually some people are paying a lot less than that, like I am, because I have a family plan and we just divide, it's like $35 for the year, but we're dividing it between 8 people. So it's like $4. It's something like ridiculous. So would you say that, not comparing it, just saying if somebody that like came up to you and was like, all right, for $20 a year, this is what you get. You get the SNES, NES games, and they show you the full lineup, so you're not fooled into thinking you're gonna get like Turtles in Time and stuff like that. And they go, and you get Tetris 99, Pac Man 99, Mario 35, and that's it for $20 a year. If you didn't compare it to Microsoft and Sony, just on its own merits, do you think that that's worth it?
Okay, so you get Tetris 99, Pac Man 99, Mario 35, right? And like the libraries. And that was $20 a year.
Yeah,
I probably would not do it. Like I'd just be like,
yeah,
if I wasn't roped into it from like the online stuff, I wouldn't do it.
yeah. It's almost like this thing of, we already established that like you shouldn't have to pay for online to begin with. And it's almost like, again, they put us in jail in the first place because we're already starting at a negative 20, where it's like, I don't think I should be paying for online. And Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo all found a way to put us in the hole, right? Because we have to play Smash and Mario Kart online. So we just kind of just, all right, whatever, we'll pay. After that, anything they do is just them trying to like make it not so bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's never a good service. It's always like, these services are really just, you guys forced us into doing something that we shouldn't have to do. And now all this bonus stuff is just you trying to make up for it as best as you can. But we're working from negative. We're not at zero and going
yeah,
up. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is already just trying to get back to zero. And it's just a complete negative experience all the way through. You know what I mean?
yeah. So like, there are other services like that. That's like the humble monthly stuff, where like you get a bunch of free games and you have to pay like a certain amount a month, right, or a certain amount a year. And a lot of those games are really good. Like two of my friends have that service, and they'll just give me games that they're not going to play anyway, right? Like one of those games was like XCOM Chimera Squad. That's like a new game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And like I think that thing is like $100 a year, right? Like let's say you get like two of those levels of games, right? That's already worth it for like Like I don't have the service, but like for someone else, that's already like what the weight of that thing was, right? And another game like last month, the game was like Control. Okay, so there was Control and there was
Yeah.
XCOM Chimera Squad. Like Control came out what like last year or like 2 years ago.
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
Um, so that's already like a worthwhile service, right? So the if the PlayStation like model was like, okay, here's 24 games, right? And but they told you all the games up front. Like you're gonna get these 24 games with $60 a year, right? Like I would think about it. I'd be like, oh, maybe this is a good idea, right? But the Switch like stuff, right? Like I wouldn't even consider it. Like I would just be like, no, that's not at all worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so true. Especially because, like, for again, you and I are people that already played the SNES and NES games are the only ones where I can see someone who finds so much value in playing those games in a modern console that to them it's worth it because they're like, oh, I would have bought those games individually. Like I would have bought Mario 3 and Mario World and Metroid and Zelda and Star Fox. I would have bought that individually. And now this is a bargain because I already would have got those games if they were piecemeal through like the virtual console or whatever. But for me, I'm like, dude, I have no interest in playing those games again. I played them to death a million times. I bought many of those games multiple times already. So it just for me it doesn't make sense. And I'm
Like
basically with you.
if it
Yeah.
was rotated as often as like a Netflix subscription, where like you're getting like new games every month, even if they had to take some games off every now and then, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe that would be better. Like if they had the
Yeah.
support of like the really big third party stuff they had back in the day, you
Yeah, they
know?
used to. Now I don't know what happened there, but yeah, so we're in jail basically, and our jailers, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, they're doing their best to make us feel like we're not in jail. But Nintendo's definitely doing the worst job at that. Even with Pac Man '99, which is an awesome game, and I definitely think you should
Yes.
try it. But we're in prison, bro. So the last thing we're going to talk about is we got this week on April 5th, this past Monday, we got a firmware update for our Switch. And many of you probably wouldn't even notice anything happened because it didn't add anything significant, or so we thought. So thanks to this guy on Twitter I follow, his at Oatmeal Dome. This guy, and he like he's not the only one. There's like he's a data miner and he's always tweeting about like what's in the code of the game and the fit the like the hidden stuff that you wouldn't be able to know unless you data mined each and every patch. And also he retweets and like sources other people who do the same thing. So he's a great source for like this really nerdy like just secret stuff that's hidden in the patches and the coding of the games and system updates. And so he tweeted out that it appears that update 12.0.0, which was the one that we just got on Monday, has added the capability for the dock's internal firmware to be updated. The dock itself only contains USB chips, a MyDP to HDMI converter, and flash memory to store its firmware. I'm not sure what the point of the update would be considering how basic it is inside. As far as I'm aware, it has never received an update before. So basically, there's an update. In the coding of this update is like some lines of code that basically enable like the dock or the Switch dock itself to receive updates in the future. And again, he just mentioned like this has never happened before. They've never actually updated the Switch's dock. They've never had like a firmware update for that, and it's very bare bones. Like if you look at your freaking dock, you wouldn't even know where the flash memory is. You know what I mean? Like it's so
Yeah,
skeletal.
it feels like a piece of plastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just a hunk of plastic that you plug wire. It feels like you just a charging station. You just plug things in and plug things out, and that's it. So there's this line of code in there, and um, so there's also a line of code for the Switch that adds audio support to the Bluetooth drivers of the Switch. So the Switch uses Bluetooth for like the controllers. And one of the big complaints about the Switch is that it's not functional with like Bluetooth headphones, like your Apple AirPods or anything like that. So now there's like in this patch, there's a line of code that allows for audio devices to sync up via Bluetooth, even though that feature is not in the Switch. Like even though that's in the code and they updated some part of the driver, you can't go on your Switch right now and like enable it to work with Bluetooth devices. So that's very strange as well. And so there's another line of code that refers to the dock having 4K output. Uh-oh. And finally, there's a line of code that reveals that the all these updates are pertaining to this new thing codenamed Aula. So basically, long story short, if you haven't already put it together hearing me talk about this, all of this stuff is it's laying the groundwork for the new Switch model. Everything that we just went through, the Bluetooth audio stuff, the 4K output, the dock that apparently is going to be receiving updates in the future. So that goes with the whole rumor that the dock itself is going to be more beefy for the new Switch and it's not just going to be a cradle. And now we have a code name, the AULA, Aula. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I actually
Who
love code
knows?
names. I'm very nostalgic about code names because growing up, like I remember, the Revolution was the Wii and the
Yeah.
Nitro was the DS, and then like the NX was like so mysterious for years, and it becomes the Switch. So now we have a code name. This is basically just the reason we're talking about this is because it's like it basically just confirms everything that we've been talking about for months and all the rumors, the 4K rumors, like the new Switch model is going to come. And at this point, I'm gonna bet my life on this. All right, this E3 is only 2 months away. It's in June, like June 11th. We're gonna see the new Switch. It's gonna have all these rumored things that are basically confirmed at this point. We're gonna see Aula, whatever the heck that is. Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be the hey, buy this upgraded model so that you can play Breath of the Wild 2 and it looks amazing on it or whatever. And I'm willing to saw my legs off on YouTube Live if that is not the case. This is just now there's so much smoke that it's just this is the fire. What are your thoughts on all these little updates and stuff like that?
Well, the thing that I was like the most surprised about was the Bluetooth one, because
Yeah,
no one talked about that at all. But it was definitely a complaint about the Switch in general. It's like, oh man, it's portable, but I want like Bluetooth headphones and whatever. Because
yeah.
when you're outside, like wires indoors, I don't mind. If anything, I actually prefer it. But outside, like wires, just they are a nightmare, right?
Oh my God, yes, yes, hundred
Especially
percent.
if you're on the bus or something.
Every time I've dropped my phone, it was back when I still had my wired headphones, and it would just like the wire would clip something, or I would move the wrong way, and it would yank my phone out of my pocket. This is the only
Yeah,
times it's ever happened.
stuff like that. Like it feels like like wires just not meant to be mobile, right?
Yeah,
It's kind of the point. So that was a complaint for like the Switch in general, and I'm surprised that they actually did it because Nintendo answering people's response like they asked for something and they gave it to them.
I'm a little
usually,
more. Yeah,
usually what Nintendo does is they'll give you something you didn't know you wanted, right?
exactly. Yeah, like here's two screens on this portable.
Yeah. So like, in terms of like we want this, they're usually like, I don't know if you actually want that. That's usually
Yeah,
their response, which is sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's not. It's like a mixed bag. It's not there's no, it's not always the right approach, but sometimes it is, right? So, um, the other stuff is kind of like things we've been expecting almost, like the 4K, stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. So the Bluetooth thing is interesting because I'm surprised that they're adding that support not so well because of what you just said, right? Because it's like the Nintendo tradition to not necessarily be like all the way at the front line. That's not even the front line anymore. That's like years ago that standard was set. There are a lot of standards that they just skip, but the reason I'm actually surprised is because the reason I thought that the Switch itself didn't already have Bluetooth headphone support is because of the battery life. So I thought that like if you had you were playing your Switch and you were playing it portably, the battery life was already kind of like with the launch Switch. I think it's like 5.5 hours if you're playing like a normal game, not online or whatever, and you're just playing in handheld mode. And so like if you have Bluetooth connected to that, your battery life will be even less. So the reason I'm surprised is because maybe this means that if they're adding that support of Bluetooth headphones, it probably means that the battery life for this new thing is probably really good. Like it's probably pretty sizable.
Well, we'll
So
see.
that's pretty
We're not
awesome.
sure what any of that means. You know what I mean? So it's a good
Yeah,
theory though.
we're just speculating, of course. Like we have no idea. For all we know, like this
The battery
stuff,
life
a
could be
lot
the
of
same.
yeah, and a lot of times these like lines of code don't actually end up meaning what they're like. It could be early plans, and then the plans never materialize, and we actually end up not even having Bluetooth audio support. So like we're just reading into it.
Yeah.
Um, the one funny thing is, dude, this new dock, okay, it's supposed to be able to output at 4K. It might get firmware updates because it might actually have like a processor inside to beef up your Switch when you're playing docked, whatever. If this thing does not have an Ethernet port, I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay. Dude, the fact that the Switch right now, the dock does not have an Ethernet port is unbelievable. Okay, that thing costs like 2 cents for you to implement into your devices, and the dock literally does nothing else. It doesn't do anything. So why can't it have an Ethernet port? The fact that you have to buy a freaking dongle to attach your Ethernet port to your Switch to play Smash online is is insane. The freaking Dreamcast in the year 1999 had a built-in Ethernet port. The Xbox in 2002 had a built-in Ethernet port. How is it possible that the Switch dock in 2017, it's a hunk of plastic that literally just sits there? It doesn't have an Ethernet port. How? That is unbelievable. So this thing better have an Ethernet port. That's just my little side tangent
So
about this.
these things are coming for a new dock, right? This is my understanding of it. It's
Yeah.
not code made to like
Yeah, that's why it has a different code name because it's supposed to be a completely different SKU.
yeah, which is honestly like a brilliant idea because the amount of people that would like want to upgrade a Switch is not as high as you might think. And but a new dock, you know what I mean? It's like that's probably going to be
Yeah.
a lot cheaper. Let's say that is the case, right? And anyone who's already a Switch owner, at least like a regular Switch owner, not like a Switch Lite, because you can't dock a Switch Lite. Um, they're going to be able to just upgrade, like way
Wait a
cheaper.
second. I didn't even think about that. That's actually really smart. So you're saying that it might actually be that there is a Switch Pro, but that you might be able to just buy the dock individually, and that might beef up your current Switch too.
Yeah,
Because the way I interpreted it, the rumors are basically saying that like there's a new Switch and it's way more powerful than the current Switch, and the dock is also more powerful, so that when you play games docked on your new Switch, they're even more powerful. Because obviously you can't do 4K on a freaking handheld. Like that's like there's no point in that. But I thought it was exclusive to the new device. You're saying that you're looking at it as it's that plus you might just be able to buy the dock for your old Switch, and that might upgrade it as well.
I mean, I think that's like the what I think would be genius level to do that. I don't know if
Oh,
that's actually the case,
that
right?
would be galaxy brain if they did
Because
that, bro.
I would buy a new dock. Like if
Yeah.
it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be way cheaper than
Yeah.
buying a whole new console, right? Well, depending on the price, let's let's
And for
calm down a
you,
bit,
you
right?
don't play your games handheld anyway. So for you, it's like, yeah, I would just dock the thing, and then if it was better, that's it. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So Nintendo, hit me up.
That would
Let's
be
talk.
super sick. So one question I wanted to ask, I don't know if you know the answer to this because I couldn't really find an answer. Do you know why, like, what is the point of them putting this firmware update for the Switch this soon before like clearly it's already obvious that all the things we talked about are for an upgraded model that's to come, right? So but like what is the point of them doing that line of code now and not like when they reveal the system? Like I don't get why you would be so in advance and the data miners are going to read into it and like figure out details about your new system. Like why did they do this?
I'm just surprised that if they did it because that kind of stuff is done internally usually. Even like online stuff is done internally on like a private network, right? So I don't really know because um, other former updates, like, do we know like what's in them? I don't really look into that kind of stuff,
Yeah, I
but
mean
like just from a coding perspective, right? all this stuff can be done internally. So like,
Yeah, and also like again, like these updates only hit my radar. Like I don't care about any of that, the minutia of like what's in a firmware update. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the system is more stable now. Like I don't care. Like the only time that this stuff hits my radar is when there's something like this where it's like, oh, this is really weird. There's lines of code for stuff that is clearly not for the Switch, the current Switch. It's clearly for something else, and like it's just funny because you remember back in the Wii U days when the first wave of Smash DLC came out, that Ryu and Roy got leaked because when Mewtwo came out, as he's the first DLC fighter for Smash Brothers on the Wii U, there was a line of code. There were lines of code that came with the update that had Mewtwo, right? And at that
yeah,
point, we had no clue who the next few characters were going to be or how many characters there were going to be. We have no idea. So Mewtwo comes out, and when the update comes out that brings Mewtwo, people data mine that update, and they literally found the victory theme from Street Fighter in the code. So it was like, why did you put that in there? Like, there must be like
I
they
get
don't.
why they do it early, right? But these things can be done like in a way where people can't find it easily. You know?
Yeah, like it's just weird that this is like a thing where like I just don't get like they stopped doing that for example later on when Cloud came out they did not there was no leak for Cloud. No one knew he was coming. There was no data mine for the character before where it told you he was coming. None of that. And with all the ultimate characters they've avoided that. But like I don't even understand how that makes your life easier to put those small little files in the game early. Or in this case, like there must be a reason for it, but it's like why would you this patch only exists for these reasons. There was nothing else on the Switch they needed to address. It was literally like mostly just this Switch Pro stuff. And it's
I mean,
like,
dude,
huh?
putting
Like
those
2
things in
months?
early, putting those things early does save you time, right? And but you can do it in a way where people can't find out. That the
Yeah.
fact that it's early doesn't concern me because it's like these are things that are in active stages of development, right? And sometimes you need to like have different code like embedded in the whole thing
Yeah, right.
before you implement the whole system, right? It's kind of hard to explain
I see what you're
without
saying, and
going.
maybe yeah, I mean maybe it's also like they're already working on the next patch, and the next patch is going to have to include the entire family of systems. So they're like, we're going to have to get everything to be on a certain level so that from here on out we could start building the new update or like the new OS, so that it's all in the same groundwork. And it's like we have to set the groundwork now so that we can build on top of it. Maybe that's what it is. Because yeah, that Nintendo doesn't want people data mining this stuff. Like they don't want. They're the last company that's cool with anyone speculating about stuff like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, that is very weird. But I really hope that your theory on the dock it happens because that would be. I don't even know if that's really how possible or feasible that would be,
yeah,
but
I'm not really sure, but
that would be sick. There are gonna be people going, "I'm just buying a dock. That's it. No new Switch for
I'd buy
me.
Doc. Yeah.
Go dock yourself, bro." All right. Well, that's our episode for this week. Hungry, how do you feel? You feeling good, bro?
Yeah.
It's not a rocket ship. It's a cock and balls. Dude, that movie was actually godlike. I'm so glad our entire crew enjoyed it. If you don't know what movie I'm talking about, please look it up. But maybe don't look up that quote. Hungry, tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter and your awesome YouTube channel.
Okay, so Twitter, MF_Arhungry. So pretty easy to remember. And then the YouTube, it's just Arhungry. So also easy to remember.
YouTube.com/ARHUNGRY.
No, they can spell. Don't spell out for them. I believe in the audience.
Nah, I don't.
No. They're grown, grown boys and girls. So
I don't think you know that my core audience is adolescents, bro. This
Correct.
show
They're
appeals to
grown.
4-year-olds.
They're grown. 4 years old. They're grown. They can figure it out for themselves. Look,
Hype.
if you want to be into my content, you gotta do some of your own work. I'm not doing anything for you. You gotta work for it.
I'm not being funny with you.
Not being funny with you.
All right, guys. Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us as always. We are out. Have a good day. Have a nice life. Peace out, babies. Thank you, guys. See you next week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Super Glentendo. The Glentendo Podcast is a weekly Nintendo / Smash community podcast. Our aim is to have galaxy brain conversations on all things Nintendo. If you like the show, please consider becoming a friendo and supporting on patreon.com/Glentendo. Friendos get early access to the show each Thursday. The show then becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts right now and you actually like the show, please give us a good review. It helps boost our visibility so more people can find the show. This show is brought to you by our amazing producers, Naomi Eduardo, In a Yellow Flash, and the legendary Riz.